Welcome to episode 18 of Rapid Reviews Radio. We are legal now.
Drinking age. Woohoo!
It's been a crazy week. So how have you been?
I am older.
Yes, I want to say a happy birthday to you.
Thank
You're
you.
Live on air.
Yep, I am older and definitely not wiser. But let's get on with the show, shall we?
Yes, because we have a lot to talk about. It's going to be fun.
We do indeed.
Fun.
So, we are missing one thing, though.
What's that?
My name is Pete Beckett, and you are highly wild.
Alright, so you guys should know out there, we're again recording late at night. Well, evening.
Kylie's not drunk this time.
I'm not drunk this time at all. Nope.
Yep.
Got coffee in me, but that's it.
Yeah, coffee at 7 o'clock is a bad idea,
It's
though.
a very bad idea. So we're recording late again.
Yeah, I usually stop drinking tea at 5, but I got my big cup out.
Yeah. But to be fair, it's a good reason why we're recording on a Monday night.
Yes.
Which Pete will be telling us about soon, because he went to the movies, as we say in America. The cinema, as you guys say over here.
Yes, I went to a talkie.
Yes. A talkie at the Nickelodeon.
Yes. So, shall we talk about it briefly now?
Yeah, let's do it now. Yeah, because I'm dying. I'm so curious. I just want to know.
I went to go and see the Sonic movie on Friday.
Did you go fast to get there?
No, I went surprisingly slow. I took my time.
So how was it? How was it? Tell us what you can.
So anyone that follows me on social media at Pete Beckett 1 may know a small bit of what I feel about it, but I'll give a very brief non-spoiler review.
Yes.
Fun for all the family.
Oh, I like it.
It's not high art.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it was never expected to be. Yeah. It was an hour and a half of just good fun, and it exceeded my expectations. Aww. I thought this was going to be an utter train wreck, but it was actually watchable.
Oh, that's very good. I'm extremely glad to hear that. Yeah. I've hoping, since that first terrible poster teaser dropped. Yep. I was like, no, it's gonna pull out. It's gonna be good. It has to.
Well, you'll be happy to know that it is at least watchable, and there are a couple of quite good gags in it as well, which is always nice.
Very good. And fan favorite Jim Carrey, is he on full form?
He's back to rubber face Jim Carrey, which is always nice.
Yes, that's my favorite Jim Carrey.
He's not the best part of the movie, like a lot of people have said.
Right.
I think that the dynamic between the police officer Tom and Sonic himself is actually a very good one.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
They play off each other very well, and I really liked that. Plus, you can tell that they really respected the source material.
That is
in a massive way. There's so many good Easter eggs, references, and great nods. I won't go into too many details about spoiler ones, but a piece of music that they used at the beginning made me very happy.
Oh man, no.
Well, it doesn't really matter anyway. But they used hyper potions from Sonic Mania, and I was just sat there. I dropped my jaw to the floor. It was like, have they really just put hyper potions in here? Oh my god!
Oh, that's great. That's very good.
It was so good.
I'm very glad to hear that. I definitely want to see that. That is on my list for sure.
Yeah, you should definitely go and see it if you can. Like I said, it is only an hour and a half. I will warn people. There's a 5-minute credit sequence, or maybe less than 5 minutes. Amazingly well done credits, by the way.
Oh, right, okay.
But there is a scene after that, so you should stick around.
Excellent. Good to know.
So you don't have to wait until the very, very, very last bit of the credits. So
good. Okay.
Yeah, so they're not marvelizing this at all.
Yeah,
which is good.
That's very good. Excellent.
Yeah. But shall we move on to some news?
let's hit the news.
Yeah, so I'm going to say it's been a slow week this week. Been a bit of a horrible one.
Yeah.
So, so we've got a story here that's actually going to tie into our topic later on, in a way, but it also does sort of go into our news from last week about Platinum Games, because developer Quantic Dream, known for their games such as Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human, are now self-publishing.
Yeah, I find that incredibly very interesting. Just because, I mean, and like I said, you know, we're going to talk more about this during the topic, but it seems to be something that's happening with some frequency that it will be interesting to see. I want this to work. I want this to work because I feel like when things are creator owned, I think that they have better quality.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. I mean, you've seen this go down the route of a couple of companies, like we said with Platinum last week. They had the Kickstarter for Wonderful 101, and they had the investment from Tencent to be able to start self-publishing their own games.
Yes.
I think gone are the days now where big companies like EA, Ubisoft, and Activision are basically ruling the roost over smaller developers and properties. So companies like Bullfrog over the years that got shut down because they weren't meeting expectations from EA. I think that's now going to be a thing of the past. I think we'll see a lot more companies now with the embracing of things like Kickstarter will now probably lead to much more importance on self-publishing.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased about that, because there does seem to be a kind of it's almost a monopoly over like all media right now, with, you know, Disney buying up everyone. Everyone. And then, you know, kind of the same was turning with games, with EA buying up every property it could get its hands on. And, you know, and then of course the music industry has long been under that kind of restriction. So a lot of artists were, again, restricted. So
mostly Sony.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So it's really good to see that. I want to see self-publishing happen, because even in, we'll talk about self-publishing as a writer. There are only 6 publishing companies. They're called the Big Six.
Yeah, HarperCollins, Penguin are 2 of them at least.
Yeah, that's the 2 big ones. Penguin owns more than you could ever imagine.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, they own presses that you would swear up and down were indie presses, but they're not. So, basically, you have to know someone in those industries to even get a break. There's very rarely a J.K. Rowling break, or you know, any of those. Those are super rare stories. So you have to know someone, which limits the talent pool. You're leaving a lot of talented writers out in the cold. Yeah. And so self-publishing in the writing world kind of kicked off about 10 years ago, with Amazon being one of the big supporters of it.
Yeah, and of course.
A lot of people that, you know, they've turned full careers out of being self-publishers. So I like to see this kind of domino effect hitting all the industries. And I like it. I think, I mean, I'll save some of this for the actual topic, but I like this return to the creators owning their properties. And I
do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see this as a bad thing, really. No. I see this as only beneficial for those companies, so long as they're able to have, you know, the right revenue come in for it to be able to publish their next game. Exactly. So long as they're not obviously going to bankrupt themselves by self-publishing their first venture and then go into the ground, basically. I really don't want to see that sort of thing. So if we see a few companies, smaller companies, embracing Kickstarter to fund their games like we have done over the last couple of years, I don't see that as a bad thing, because it sort of helps with the fans as well to get interested in a property, to be able to, you know,
Plus,
get in at the base level.
Absolutely, and you get that real-time feedback of what people want. You know, you don't have to guess because they're telling you.
Yeah, exactly. Then they're not just telling you; they're throwing their money at you.
Exactly. Voting with their wallet, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to talk about that fry meme.
Yeah, take my money.
Shut up and take my money. Okay. So that one was quite interesting. I thought,
yeah.
I know not everyone really respects David Cage that much because he is a bit of a hack writer, and in my opinion, personally,
I was gonna say I'm one of those people. I'm sorry. I know we've probably got some fans out there of his stuff. I don't know that we've ever actually discussed it.
No,
I don't think we've you and I have touched on it lightly on other previous episodes, but
I think so.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I haven't seen much discussion of it. But neither of us are big fans, and yeah, for me, it's strictly he is a hack. He has a formula that he follows.
Yeah. For me, like his games or Quantic Dream's games are just not my kind of thing.
No,
they're very story driven, which I quite like, but the stories are really quite badly written, to be honest.
Yeah. To be fair, my very favorite version of I'll say his stuff is the YouTuber which Pete knows is probably my favorite, which is Call Me Kevin.
Of course.
He likes to take those and pick all of the wrong options, and it's hilarious. It is hilarious.
Oh, of course.
Because you can't lose those games. You can tell your, whichever character you're being. It's kind of like Telltale games as well, which he does the same thing. You can't lose them. You just maybe don't get the optimal, cutscene or whatever. But
no.
So it's funny
you might not
to
get
watch that.
Exactly what you want out of it, but it sort of leads you down a particular path.
Yeah, they hold your hand the whole way, which is not my cup of tea, but I respect anyone else that does enjoy that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll move on to the next minor but major discussion point.
Yeah.
Because it's a minor 5-minute video that blew up the internet.
Minor, I like how you say that.
Yeah. What minor in terms of 5-minute video?
That's true. That's true. That's very true.
So, to anyone excited about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is pretty much all of us here.
Yes, very much.
Square-Enix posted the opening cinematic to the game.
Yes, they did.
The beautiful 5-odd minute.
Oh yes.
Beautiful movie that they released, and they've done exactly what they've said on the tin.
Yes,
they've expanded everything, because we were discussing this off air beforehand. This opening sequence lasted no more than 2 minutes originally.
That's right.
In the original game, but they've made this a 5-minute thing where you see a lot more of the world itself, not just Midgar.
Yep.
You get a lot more detail in the streets themselves. A lot more happens with Aerith. She is it Aerith or Aerith? I've never known.
It depends on which country. I believe that, and I might have this reversed, but I think in America we called her Aerith, and then over here it was Aerith. I think.
I think it's spelled Aerith, so I'm gonna. I'll stick with Aerith because I think that's correct.
For some reason, that's how I have it in my head, so that's what I stick with. Yeah.
Okay, we'll stick with that anyway. So Aerith, she's walking through the area of, I believe it's Sector 5?
I was going to say Sector 7, but yeah.
I want to say Sector 5, but I could be completely wrong with that. But you can still see a lot of the details that were there, like the Loveless sign and stuff like that. Her flowers get trod on, which is really quite disappointing.
Yes.
That never happened originally.
Not quite like that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But I have to say one of my favourite parts of it was that redone score.
Oh gosh.
Oh wow, it sent the tingles
It's
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's enhanced. It's filled out. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
It was already beautiful anyway. I mean, we cannot fault it. It was beautiful, but
yeah,
now they've grown it up. I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, I would say the best way to put it probably was the way that I discussed this with someone on YouTube when they released the battle music for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
We obviously used that in a previous episode to make things a bit more hype with our Game of the Decade discussion.
Yep.
So I posted this on YouTube. Someone said, "Oh, this is so much better than the chiptune soundtrack we got years ago." I basically said, "This is." I can't say that for sure, but I think this is probably what Nobu wanted to do back then, but just couldn't because of limitations.
Yeah.
So this is finally realizing full scale and scope of what he envisioned.
To be fair, I thought, now correct me if I'm wrong, I thought chiptunes really were more of your 8-bit and 16-bit.
It is. I mean, I just used chiptune just as a loose term, but they were MIDI MIDI files.
Yeah.
You know, because the PS1 couldn't handle much.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, of course. I just using it as a broad term more than anything there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the MIDI files don't stand out too well when they're outside of the game, unfortunately.
That's true.
This one does sound like it could be something you could listen to constantly. I have.
Yeah.
Because I think someone's posted up some music that goes across the whole entire demo, which still hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit.
They've got to be tweaking it.
I'm a bit wary to actually want to listen to that.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, I might just save it and experience it as it is, like in the game, and then go back and listen to it after.
See, I'm kind of at that position myself, whereas I am so hungry for Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff, but I also I don't want it drip fed to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
I feel like it's gonna. I just want to experience it like old school, like just at once. Yeah, exactly. And because a lot of movie trailers are doing that now, where they just basically play the entire movie in a trailer.
I don't like that at all.
I don't either. It's weird. I don't know why that trend started even.
Not sure.
Yeah, but so I'm kind of that way with games as well. It's like I don't want to know everything, even though I do know everything about Final Fantasy VII. There won't be any like spoilers or surprises, but at the same time, I want the experience itself to be kind of a fully fledged at once thing, I guess.
Look, I think that's where you might be wrong. I think there's going to be a fair few things that we won't know about going into this, because they're trying to expand the game, and this is apparently only part 1.
That's true.
So
that's true.
And they're trying to make this into a full 60-80 hour experience in just Midgar alone. So there's going to be a lot we don't know. I think in addition to the story, there might even, if I'm going to say if we're lucky, if we're unlucky, I would say, we might get some stuff that integrates stuff to do with Crisis Core and Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah.
Which, please don't do that.
I know, yeah. But at the same time, I mean, if they can kind of, I don't know. I was going to say gel it all together, but I don't know how you would. I just don't know how you would.
Yeah, just don't do anything to do with Advent Children.
No.
Let's just forget that even existed.
Yeah. Oh, God. Couldn't believe. I was so disappointed. I think I said this on last week's show, but I'm still so disappointed from years ago when I was so excited because all of the Final Fantasy from 7 to X and X2, I love their cutscenes. That's why I just became nuts about it, because it was very anime-like and it was very cinematic.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful and stunning. So when, they're like, oh, we're doing a full 3D movie of, Final Fantasy VII characters, I was like, yes! That's awesome!
Yeah.
And it was
I was hyped as all hell.
Yeah.
To then find out I wasn't going to be able to watch it anywhere apart from stupid UMD on the PSP.
It was terrible. It was terrible. But it's in the past, and we're on to bigger and better things with the remake coming out. So, yes.
Exactly. So, we'll move on from this news because I don't want to nerdgasm too much.
Yeah.
And I at least want to be able to still know I'm alive before April.
Yes. Exactly.
So, we'll move on to our controversial news topic of the week.
Yes.
Which happens to involve Pokemon again.
Of course. Not a surprise there.
The controversy keeps coming with that game. I don't understand. Anyway, this one came out from both Game Freak and Nintendo this week. That they have identified the outlet responsible for leaking images of the Pokedex for Sword and Shield.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising.
Unusually, they named them in the official document. In the statement, they named the outlet. Shall we name them?
I think we should.
Because it's public knowledge?
Yeah, it's public knowledge.
Yeah, it's a publication, a Portuguese publication called F Nintendo.
Can't imagine
which is really bad. No, the weird thing is, apparently they've been doing stuff with Nintendo for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So, it's a bit weird that they didn't check the sources and go, F Nintendo? Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. But I do wonder if they publicly stated them as a way to kind of, I don't know, like sick the community on them, kind of as a defensive measure. You don't think? Okay.
I don't think that's the case. If we know what the internet is like, there would be a few hate mobs out there that probably would have gone after them with their proverbial pitchforks and torches.
Yeah.
I think they did. Possibly, or DDoSing.
Or DDoS, yeah.
Yeah.
Either one, those are both good.
Yep. Or just plain old Twitter rage.
Or that, yes.
That also works as well.
That does work.
I think they did this to make an example out of them.
Ah, yes.
To basically put the fear of God into other people.
Anybody
and go,
else.
Whoa, if they're going to name outlets now, we probably shouldn't do this.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Absolutely. And to be fair, they've cut ties with them completely.
Yeah,
and
as you would.
That they won't get anything else from Nintendo. Apparently, it was a freelancer who done this, and they tried to throw that freelancer under the bus. But all of F Nintendo got completely done by this.
Well, they knowingly released it, whether it's a freelancer or not.
Well, it does state in employment contracts anyway, especially with embargoes and stuff like that. It does state that even a freelancer is representing your company.
Yes, that's right.
So that it's perfectly within their rights to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about. So it would have been in their NDA that even a freelancer can get done for this sort of thing, even though they might not officially be on the books. So, but they are representing the outlet. I mean, we're freelancers technically.
Yeah.
Rapid reviews.
Absolutely.
I have worked on a game that had an embargo as well.
Yes, I have as well.
And the NDA for it was quite strict.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I would have released any images of that, I would have got absolutely blacklisted from everywhere.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
I personally don't want to mention the company because I don't, because NDAs are a normal thing. If you know anything about like reviewers, outlets, and all that sort of thing, they might give given a game a couple of weeks ahead of time, and they just can't release anything until a certain time. There'll be stuff in there to do with spoilers and stuff like that. You're better off just reading the document, signing it, knowing exactly what you're going to come up against, and just hold fire until you know exactly what you can do at a certain time. Just don't bother leaking anything because it's only going to screw over your career.
Exactly. Oh, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No, definitely not.
No.
But it will always happen. There will always be people that are hungry for news and hungry for that 5 minutes of internet fame that they'll get by putting an image out there.
Exactly. Anyone in the Game of Thrones fandom knows well how the leaks go. Ugh, God.
Don't I know that? Because I pretty much know everything about seasons 1 to 7 without ever watching that show.
Yep.
Annoyingly.
Yep. Oh, I hate leakers.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they are quite annoying.
yeah.
Apparently, one of our previous guests, Dr. Virtual, got Sonic spoiled for him at 24 hours before playing it.
Oh, aw.
Yeah, he was so mad about it. I don't think I've ever seen him so mad on Twitter.
Oh, I would be absolutely upset too. I hate spoilers. I hate them.
Yeah.
It's weird because even as a kid, like we were all reading R.L. Stine books and stuff like that. And, like the Fear Street, or I think it was called something else over here. I have a bunch upstairs.
Yeah.
But they were called Fear Street back in
back home.
Yeah, back home.
R.L. Stein, that would be Goosebumps then.
Well, before it was around that time, but it was for the little bit older than Goosebumps, like the 12, 13-year-olds. It was Horror Street, something I didn't remember. But anyway. So, like, we were all reading them in school, and we were trading and all this kind of stuff. And I would notice that, like, certain sets of my friends would flip to the back of the book and read the last, 2 or 3 pages, and then start at the beginning. They were like, well, I just want to know how it ends, so I'm not wasting my time. Yeah, exactly. And I was like horrified at just the idea of, because for me, the joy is the discovery and the... I love surprises in cinema and, well, in any media, really. So,
of course.
But there is a just section of humanity that they like to know what they're getting into before they step foot into their entertainment. So that's so weird to me.
So upon a bit of investigation, it was Fear Street.
So it was it Fear Street over here too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, according to Wikipedia, so I'm not going to go into whether or not it definitely was here, but that's according to it over here, and onto that anyway. Yeah. But what was I going to say? Yeah, the only time that I have ever done the flicking to the end of the book was the Da Vinci Code, because that was a pile of terribleness.
Oh,
yeah, so I just wanted to know what the worst part of the whole thing was, and that was just happened to be the ending. I did read the whole book after that.
I don't know how you did it.
I want to know. I want to know why it got to this point.
Yeah, I guess I could see that, but I mean, even it's just so poorly written, like sentence fragments
Yeah, I don't read that often. I find it very hard to stay interested in books.
Yeah, no,
which is why I tend to listen to audiobooks a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy the stories. I just can't focus myself enough to want to read.
No, I get that.
But the very short and poorly written chapters were probably the best thing about Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, I have to say, I have to say that yeah, because I'm one of those people who reads to the end of the chapter and then does something else, puts it away for a bit and then come back to the next chapter.
That's fair.
Yeah, so stuff like that, I do kind of like it when they're shorter, because then I can hurry up and
you can just blast through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, is I would read like 3 or 4 chapters. It's like, wow, I've read so much.
Yeah. Oh, God.
All right. So, that's going to cover us for the news this week.
Well, that takes us... That was a
slow week.
It's a slow week, and I think after all the excitement of a birthday weekend and Sonic, we're just kind of taking it down, being easy.
Yeah, exactly. But on a small piece of Sonic-related news, just to add this one briefly in there, it is the highest performing 4-day total of any video game movie so far.
I saw that, and of course, I think in our list of future topics, we are going to be talking about, like video game movies and television shows. Yeah. But, I mean, you can't deny if Sonic becomes a major hit along with the Witcher series,
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more video games in our multimedia.
I think we will. I definitely do.
I think that would be good in a way because we kind of touched on it last week, but how video games are still the last bastion of, it's very underrepresented and it's very stereotyped. Whereas like comic books and stuff like that isn't so much now because of the success of like, you know, the Marvel Universe and all of that kind of thing.
For sure.
You know, that's kind of elevated it. You know, Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con's become a, you know, must-attend event because movie stars go there now. So, you know, we may see the same thing with video games over the next while. But we'll talk about that more when that topic comes up.
That is a topic worthy for dissection in a future
episode. Yeah.
Alrighty.
So now we move to our next section, which is our 2-minute, not ever 2-minute section called You Got This. And if you've been following my Twitter, first of all, you poor soul, then you would see that, like today, one thing that I did was the house that I bought last year is what you call a time capsule house. And that means that this particular one was built by a Canadian in like the late 60s, early 70s. And the couple that he built it for owned the house the entire time until they passed away. And then I bought it. So everything in it is exactly as it was, which is good and bad. But because I love the what's called the brutalist and the modernist style of architecture and decorating, and that's how my house is done, then I'm kind of bringing in pieces of art and, you know, various types of things from that time period. Well, I managed to find a very nice vase. Well, I guess it's more like a jug. It's pottery. And I got it for a fraction of what it was worth. Let's say it was probably worth about 40 quid. I got it for like 2, which is my favorite thing to do ever. But when it arrived, they didn't package it right. And it was absolutely smashed and in several ridiculously tiny pieces. I was sad. I mean, I was sad more for the loss of the artwork because it's handmade. Somebody made that, you know, in like 1968.
Wow, that's disappointing.
Yeah, so that got me more than the value because, like I said, I was only out like, you know, 2 or 3 quid. That wasn't a big deal. But the idea that, you know, someone made this with their hands and, you know, it's just a beautiful piece of art. Well, I got angry at first for about 2 seconds, and then because I never stay angry for long at any time, and I was like, you know what? No. Let's see what I can do with some all-purpose glue, and see if I can put it back together. There are pictures on my Twitter if you check that out. Anyone that's listening to this, but before and after. But it took about an hour, but I got it back together. And the
excellent
weird thing that happened was I was angry when I saw it smashed. And then as I was putting it together, or putting it back together, I got to see some of the details that I would have missed had I just taken it out, dusted it, and put it up. There's small little imperfections and small little details, and the more I pieced this back together, I just really found an appreciation for it. And then by the time it was all back together, you really couldn't tell it was broke. Like you could walk up to it and you could see a little, you know, crack here and there, but kind of added to it. And then when I set it down, like my anger just disappeared. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, and I was like, I really like this, and I like it better than if it had arrived, you know, fully intact, which is a weird thing for me to process. But then it made me think.
It gave you a project.
It gave me a project, which I love. But it also made me think, I don't know how much I've shared on this program or not, but I'm free about everything. I'm free and open. You can ask me anything at any time. But one thing that happened is I would say about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And part of that autoimmune disease, my skin attacks itself. And one way to kind of fight against that or to combat it is to have large swaths of skin removed. It's called a wide excision. And so I had, about 5 years ago, I started a round of surgeries. And I had about 8 surgeries, and I still have one more in the future. But they cut chunks out of me. I mean, they did. They had to. It was painful. It was a bad recovery, blah, blah, blah. I do remember the first time I looked at myself in the mirror after getting out of surgery where I could get up and walk. And it was scary looking.
Was it kind of like Freddy Krueger?
It was it was exactly like Freddy Krueger. And then one side was left open, which is like I always compared it to hamburger meat. I know. I'm sorry. Okay. And then the other side had a skin graft, which is the side that looked like Freddy Krueger, like identical.
Yeah.
And the healing was kind of hard, and it was rough, blah blah blah. So 2 years later, I'm given you can leave the hospital and return to your life. I was scarred from top of my arms down to my legs, because when they do a skin graft, you can use your own skin. So they took the skin from my leg and put it on my arm.
Yeah, they usually use like an area that's not that used, is it? Yeah,
because even if I wore shorts, you probably couldn't see much of it. Especially now, it's starting to fade. But when they first did it, it looked like bacon slices. And
I hope you mean streaky bacon.
Yeah, streaky bacon. That's what I mean. American bacon. And it was. I was like, I took bunches of pictures because I was just fascinated, but I didn't want to gross people out. But I did post one and said, bacon. All my nurse friends started laughing, but everybody else was horrified. But anyway, the point, back to my point. When I returned to the gym after being 2 years out, I was hugely overweight because I hadn't moved in 2 years, and all I ate was... It's going to be
quite hard to when your legs look like streaky bacon.
Yeah, like I couldn't use them properly and couldn't use my arms. My muscles had frozen up. The PT, the therapist, physical therapist, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you were so close to losing complete use of one of your arms and one of your legs." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
But anyway, so I returned back to my life and I started back at the gym, this time CrossFit. And I remember I went there and I don't have any sweat glands. That was part of the surgery, was they removed my sweat glands, primary sweat glands. So that means I couldn't wear a t-shirt in the gym because I would overheat. So I had to wear what's called a vest over here, but we call it a tank top. And I had hideous scars. The scars go from my shoulders all the way down to my elbows, and then down my sides. Yeah, and I was like, I mean, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna show up and freak everybody out? And I had the doubts and everything, but I just kind of sucked it up and said, you know what, we're just gonna go do it. So what? I don't care. And then before long, I was back to weightlifting over my head, which was amazing, and then working on pull-ups, which it's just amazing. Like, to think that I couldn't use my arms, and then all of a sudden I was, on my way to being able to do pull-ups again.
Yeah. Oh, you were back.
I was back, yeah. And there's pictures of me that they took, not just of me, they take them of everybody, but, and I saw my scars, and I was like, I wasn't embarrassed of them. I saw them.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they suck. And yeah, they look weird. But I overcame something that not a lot of people do. So then I had this weird kind of restructuring process where I became kind of proud of them. And it's very akin to how I felt with this this pottery jug. And then, as one of my friends reminded me, that in Japan there is a form of art that is called kintsugi or kintsukuri. You'll have to forgive me. I can't even speak English, so forgive me if I totally botched that. But that is specifically the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with gold or silver.
Yeah, I've seen that before. It's a really interesting art.
It is.
That they do, and it actually adds value to their pottery by doing it.
That's the key phrase you just said. So for this week's You Got This, it does not matter how broken or how scarred you are. Just like my pottery jug became more beautiful to me because I put it back together and I saw the intricacies that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. Or even like me being able to lift over my head is more gratifying because I'm scarred. So this week is about shifting your focus. If you're broken, if you're scarred, that increases your value. It doesn't decrease it by any means. And that's really, really what you should focus on. Scars they're a physical thing. They don't represent anything that's inside of you. And
no,
never ever, even emotional traumatic scars, don't let them hold you back. So, and this week, going forward, just think you may be broken, but you've increased your value through that brokenness.
So I wondered where you were going with that, but that was really interesting.
Yeah, I knew I was going to have to wind it back. Yeah.
No, that was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I said that was a roller coaster of a ride there. Going up the hill there, and I was like, "What are we doing here?
Where are we going?"
Yeah. Said, oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, it was very interesting this morning, sitting there looking at that jug. It's
I bet.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I want everyone out there to never feel less than ever, because you're not. And as always, you got this, and we're here if you need to talk.
Always.
Definitely.
Yep. There have been a couple of people who've utilised that over the last week, and
they have.
That has been interesting to discuss a few things with other people about what's going on in their world, and sometimes just an outside perspective can give you a little bit of balance and a bit of clarity to think, if I'm overreacting about something, you might be, you might not be. Who knows? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever your problem is, whatever way you find is the best way to deal with it, deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you need help, you need help, so be it. You can't. Everyone doesn't always have the answers. Not everyone is.
We're all fumbling.
Perfect in this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're all falling apart like a poor piece of pottery.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So we'll help put each other back together.
Yes, and it'll be more valuable afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes. No, definitely.
Well, hopefully, as long as you're not using rubber cement.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get on to our main topic for this week, shall we? Which is going to be about crowdfunding and crowdsourcing games.
Yes.
This was obviously based on Platinum Games' recent Kickstarter, where they have, as the time of recording, just going to bring up the Kickstarter page. It's currently at just under £1.3 million for Wonderful 101, which is still crazy to me.
It really is.
Oh, it literally just jumped up as I was talking. That was weird. What do you feel could be the importance of crowdfunding games?
I think, kind of harkening back to what I was saying earlier about self-publishing, there's a lot of control that is wrested back from the large, publishers if you go down the route of self-publishing. And there's a lot of games out there that they won't get made otherwise because they're either not seen as money makers or, they can't market them. Ugh. That's one thing that I used to get told a lot in early days of being a writer is you're too hard to market. We can't find a market for you.
Yeah. And, I've heard that a lot when it comes to certain games as well. There is no market for this one. This one won't sell well and stuff along those lines. And I've always thought that's a cop-out for them to not invest money.
Yes, it's a big cop-out because I can tell you right now, in the various forms of media that I've been involved in, there is an audience and a market for everything. Everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and...
I mean, for goodness sakes, there's a market for hentai.
Yeah, that's exactly true. That's very true.
That's not very marketable.
That wouldn't be mainstream marketable, but I bet it makes a lot of money.
But it's still marketable to that demographic. That's what they're not looking at. Is they're not looking at certain subsections of people that are very interested in that kind of thing. One of the things that I was discussing over the last couple of weeks was to do with the niche value of a game called Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Yes.
Where obviously that has had a re-release on the Switch and still hasn't really sold kind of what everyone was thinking it would do. But that's obviously they were catering just for that particular market itself. They knew who they were marketing the game to.
Yes.
They knew that it probably wasn't going to sell to your general mass market, but they still put it out there. They still spent the money on it. And those people who are obviously in that niche demographic were obviously very happy with what they got. So there is a market for everybody. So for a company to turn around and go, this isn't marketable, this won't be profitable. No, it's a lie, I think.
I definitely a terrible excuse, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But like to swing this on the other hand, there obviously are people who are massively rich and invest money to make more money. So I can kind of appreciate that if you are investing a large sum of money, you're going to want to see a return for your investment. As a business person, I think you of all people would understand that.
Well, I mean, I'll even take it down to a very small scale. My company, I have an opportunity ever so often to look at new products that are available to people like me, to printers. And I have to evaluate, is this going to make me money, or am I going to lose money, or is this just going to fade into obscurity? Probably my weirdest successful thing is air fresheners. Custom
that is weird
printed air fresheners, which it still cracks me up to this day because I thought I'll take a little gamble, and I bought a load, I think it was like 6 sheets of these things, and I'll just do a test and I'll make a funny silly ad to go with it. It blew up out of nowhere. I couldn't have even predicted it. I made almost triple my money back on the investment.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I usually work using intuition when it comes to business decisions. And I'm glad that I went with that because my logic said, don't buy air fresheners. Nobody wants stupid air fresheners. And then I turned around and I ended up selling it to, what is that? Aromatherapy? Those people that use oils?
Yeah.
Anyway, they ended up being my biggest customer base that I didn't even know existed. So
nice.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of the same with games, you know, like you just there is a customer base out there for everything. You just have to find them. And then
of course.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you're selling more niche things, like the Tokyo Mirage sessions. When someone invests in that as someone enjoying it, not as a business investing in it, but as a then they're probably going to invest for life because it's a niche market and there isn't much out there.
Sure.
So that you're going to have that return customer, and that type
Oh
of
yeah,
thing.
of course.
And I as a business person, I like those people better because you can count on that money being there, as opposed to throwing something out there and just seeing who might take a bite at it. You know what I mean? And never knowing.
Yeah. I think it's once you put things out to a general mass market, it can be a bit of a hit and miss sort of game, can't it?
It can, absolutely.
But if you're specifically marketing it to that niche consumer base, then you can sort of guarantee at least 90% of your sales.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's called a like a controlled risk type thing. Yeah,
I hear that a lot in business when it comes to because I work in insurance. I hear about risk and actuarial risks quite a lot, and it's quite annoying.
Exactly.
But obviously, every business, no matter how small or big, will have that level of risk and that level of that level of degree of how much money do they want to invest on something that's not going to sell. I mean, we'll look at Nintendo, obviously, over the years. Like they've made some pretty dangerous, risky moves over the years. With some of their consoles and some of their handhelds, but some of them have really paid off. Obviously,
they have.
The Virtual Boy is quite a failure on their part.
Yeah.
I know everyone wants to rag on the Wii U quite a lot, but I mean that was marketed. That wasn't really very well marketed, unfortunately, and the name itself just didn't give a lot of strong impressions, really.
No.
But actually, if you look back on it, like it was a half step, really, wasn't it? In what they wanted to do for the future, it was a concept.
Yes.
That they put out there, and I mean, obviously, car manufacturers will put concept cars out there that won't usually ever see the light of day, apart from one or two.
I love concept cars.
So do I.
Yeah.
But the problem is that Nintendo produced 13 million concept consoles that just they produced a lot and it didn't work out well for them. But look at how well it's paid dividends with the Switch, because they managed to actually get the technology available to them for a much better price, a much better rate, and works functionally a lot better. And that's proven that with their 50+ million sales of that console.
Absolutely.
So they've tripled the amount of what the Wii U has done and more.
Absolutely.
Everyone always forgets as well, like the amount of money that they invested into the N64, and it only sold probably about 30-odd million units.
Yeah.
Which is why it's quite hard to come across now when it's in the retro game market. It's quite expensive.
Yeah, it is, and actually, I think we even have. Do we have? Yeah, we do have a listener question later that kind of touches on that. Touches on what I want to say about that.
Sure.
So, I mean, but to bring this back to crowdsourcing, so crowdfunding. I don't know. What do you think? It started about 10, 15 years ago.
It's been going on for a fair while. I can't say exactly when it started.
There was something. What was it called? A friend of mine had a podcast called The Film Talk, and one of their sponsors was this new thing. It might have been Patreon. I don't know, but we're going back here. And he was like, if you have an idea, you go up there, you present this idea on on this online thing, and then you see if you get backers. I remember when that first happened, I was actually very against that, because I just didn't fit my idea of what business should be, which has now evolved quite dramatically, as I've just been in business. So I remember hearing of that, and then it wasn't long after that you heard of like one of the first movies to be crowdsourced, which is like a Veronica Mars movie or something like that.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because yes, that was one of the very first movie-based Kickstarters out there, and it was because the creator really wanted to make a new Veronica Mars, but no studio wanted to touch it with a barge pole.
Yes, right, exactly. I don't know how that evolved. Like, I don't know if it was successful or not.
Oh, the movie came out.
Did it? Okay.
It did.
Did it do well?
That shows. Well, I think that shows how well it did, because you didn't know it out.
Well, yeah. But to be fair, I didn't watch the Veronica Mars show, because
I didn't either.
I'm not good at TV unless it's cartoons.
Yes.
Or involves Matt Groening, except for that latest fiasco.
Do you mean Disenchantment?
Yes.
Disenchantment should get dysentery.
Oh, yes. Ah, yes. We'll save that for our Matt Groening podcast. But yeah, going back to the crowdfunding, so, and then of course the natural evolution after that was video games.
Of course.
I think there was a lot of apps that were crowdfunded. Whether successful or not, I don't know. For me, there's been a lot more misses than hits. And then
there's been a huge amount of games that have been crowdsourced over the years.
Yeah. The first one I remember is one that you and I have talked about. I just never really paid attention until the ukulele crew, did their thing.
Yeah.
That's all the rare
Platonic.
people. Yeah. But, I mean, Platonic and all that stuff. But, God, that was in 2017. That wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. That's strange to think. And they've had a second game come out last year.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Which, I mean, considering ukulele did, in terms of we're gonna talk numbers here in English pounds, because that's what we're going by here.
Yeah.
Ukulele made just over £2 million.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable.
Wow.
It clearly showed that there were a lot of people out there who were absolutely really excited about the prospect of a new 3D platformer that was very much akin to Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
By the people who had split off from Rare to make their own company. So from basically, we'll call the original developers.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was a new property, new characters, new sort of thing like that, and it looked promising. It looked very promising, in fact.
Definitely.
What we got was a bit of a mess, though.
Yes.
Now, for our research, I did go and play ukulele a little bit.
Okay, for research?
Well, it's on Game Pass.
Yes, it is. What are your...
It's not... It's not great. It's really not great.
It's not.
No, it's such a shame. They have made some vast improvements over the years with obviously being able to update games now. They have made some very sizable improvements to it, to what was originally out there, but it's still not a very enjoyable game, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, it clearly did well enough. The Kickstarter clearly did well enough that they were able to use the money that they got from that to then fund their next project, which was a traditional 2D platform with these characters. And that did really well.
Yeah. Kind of harkening back to last week's episode where we talked about like Sonic entering the 3D world. I think 3D platformers are difficult. I think, as we've said before, Mario pulled it off. Because
obviously didn't.
No. But I think, No. I think Mario.
Bugsy couldn't pull anything off.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, weirdly, I know it's kind of still talking about like Rare and all that, but I mean, Crash did pretty well as a 3D platform.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of pseudo 3D anyway.
Exactly. It was kind of a half and half, and maybe that's kind of like what Mario's done. They've just kind of completely rewritten platforming. But in a good way.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
in a positive way.
There were no rules on 3D platforming though when Mario was there.
No.
There were examples of 3D platformers, unless you're talking about Croc, Legend of the Gobbos.
Oh gosh.
That
Croc
once
and,
that. Dear.
What's the
that game
lizard?
that once used to be. Spyro.
No, not Spyro, but Spyro
No,
actually did it really well. No, the gecko. I've just blanked on him.
the what? Sorry.
The gecko.
Gex.
Gex, that's it. I don't know why I could not think of that. Gex was another one of those. I wanted to like it so bad, but it was terrible.
No,
it was terrible.
Yeah.
So.
Oh gosh, that was an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, right here it says that by the 24th of November in 2018, the game had sold over 1 million copies, and that's for Ukulele. That's a lot.
I had heard that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not even taking into account the amount of people who kickstarted it who would have got their copies.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just pure sales alone. That's really good.
Yeah.
So it clearly did well enough to greenlit their sequel.
Yeah. But it is strange because I didn't enjoy it. But I'm one of those people. I hate the cameras that do their own thing, and I can't control them. And that's I forget what that's called. But Resident Evil was famous for that back in the day. I hate them.
Oh, what, the cinematic camera?
Where it kind of like does its own. It pulls back and does its own thing,
I hate those.
And it's like or you run like diagonal across the screen, and it's just like what?
Yeah, that was an inherent problem with a lot of the early 3D platformers. The hideous cameras, which is why I can't ever go back and play Mario 64.
Yeah. 100%. I actually, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I tried it again, and it's still terrible. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
It just is. But so is, and I'll get a lot of hate for it, but so is, which Link is it? The Mask of Majora. The Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask.
Yeah, it's just it's the same, it's just too
it's a very early 3D thing.
Yeah.
I will say that the story for Majora's Mask is much better than Ocarina of Time. I genuinely enjoy Majora's Mask more than I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I just think that the 3-day time limit was great.
I was gonna say it is more. Yeah. I hate time limits in games.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you do.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I can't wait to see how they do the Final Fantasy VII countdown.
Oh, I've seen that.
That's the demo you played, wasn't it? That area.
Yeah. They gave you an extra 15 minutes, so
Holy
it was half
crap.
an hour in total.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but the fight itself does take a lot longer now.
Yeah.
We've veered away from that, so we'll go back. We'll
yes, of course.
Move away from 7s, and we'll go up the number scale to 9s.
Yes.
Yep.
I know exactly
because we're
where
talking
you're
about
going.
the most famous Kickstarter there has been.
Oh gosh, yes.
Come from the mind of Keiji Inafune. Most Mega Man fans will know that guy very well.
He created Mega Man.
His name. Lie. Sorry. He co-created Mega Man.
Yes.
But his Kickstarter for the proto Mega Man, basically, Mighty Number 9.
Yes.
Which is still one of the most successful Kickstarters of all time. I mean, I couldn't find an English amount for this, but $3.8 million.
Wow. Yeah, I'm trying to think what that would be. I can't even.
It's rough.
It's a
It's
lot.
probably, in today's money, is probably just over £2.8 million, I reckon. Maybe
Yeah.
just shy of 3 million, I reckon.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That
uh,
sounds about right.
I just want to check one thing. So, what do you make of this anyway?
Which bit that it was successfully kickstarted or?
Well, how well they marketed the game on Kickstarter and how they managed to get all this money.
That is the. God, I'm gonna probably stick my foot right in my mouth. That's probably the only good thing that they did was the marketing. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
They forgot to make a game.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, they put it all in marketing and then forgot they were supposed to make a game. And
yeah, I think one of their worst mistakes was setting up another Kickstarter whilst this Kickstarter was still going on. Yes. Which is Red Ash, which never got funded.
You can't do that. I mean, I hate saying like, oh, you can't do this and that. It's not wise. Yeah. It's not wise. You need, if you're a studio, you need to concentrate on one property.
Oh, of course, especially a small-time studio like
exactly.
like them, because they're kickstarting because Keiji Inafune had decided to split off from Capcom, and create his own company with Concept.
Yeah, which was bad.
Oh dear.
Bad.
I mean, I think that the reason why this Kickstarter did so well was because Capcom were refusing to make Mega Man games. Time, so Keiji Inafune just went, all right, I'll make a Mega Man game then.
Yeah, to be fair,
but not Mega Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to be fair, everything was in place for a good, like, the timing couldn't have been better for him or for this
of course,
particular game. But I don't know where he dropped the ball, and I am saying him as opposed to just all of concept, but they didn't. It's as it was referred to. It's charmless and full of poorly executed ideas, because it is. Yeah. It's just not complete. It's just not complete. It's almost like a demo, a very long demo. But a demo of technology that's been around for years. It's not a new take on an old genre, if that makes sense.
Of course. This type of game has been done many times before, obviously, with the large amount of Mega Man games that we got. Like 2D platformers are nothing new, of course.
Right.
But they weren't really marketing themselves as being anything that original, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
They were literally, I think, just relying on the Mega Man fans to come out in droves, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. Yep, and I think...
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I think the name alone probably sold this.
Yeah.
But then obviously it got found out that most of the stuff that he did for Mega Man clearly wasn't what most people really appreciated, because he was only part of a team, but he pretty much solely took the credit for the whole thing.
Yeah, which is
quite worrying.
And that is not a normal action in Japanese culture.
No.
So
it's all about teamwork and togetherness. And
very much. And one person takes responsibility for the entire. Like if
things muck up.
Yeah, like if someone below you makes a mess, then you help them clean it. It's a shared thing.
It's a shared responsibility when it's you bask in each other's successes, but you also help each other when you fail.
Exactly. So it was a very strange thing to like almost pull himself to spotlight himself. That's just not usually done.
No.
And then yes, it sold. It got the game sold on Kickstarter, but as we both said, there was nothing. There's no substance there.
No.
Just lacked everything. Which is disappointing because Mega Man is such a legacy,
Yeah.
And
I mean, just look at how it's obviously affected Capcom, because Capcom came out and made made a couple of new Mega Man games as a result.
Yeah.
They're doing all the collections, It's given Capcom a reason to go, okay, Inafune, you left us. We're now going to make the real Mega Man.
Exactly. And then
I think it was just a way to one-up them, basically.
Yeah. It's just disappointing because when things like that happen, whether it's games, movies, books, music, any media, it makes the next person a little bit more hesitant to back things.
Of course.
Which is what I think we're kind of running into now. And completely disagree with me, if you need to. But I think there's almost a crowdfunding fatigue. I mean, because between Patreon and Kickstarter and the other one that I just blanked out on, and
Indiegogo, GoFundMe.
GoFundMe is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Anything that I've ever backed, and I have not backed much. I think I've only backed 4 things in my entire life. They've never been successfully executed ever.
Yeah, I've only ever backed one thing, which happened to be a book for a tabletop role-playing game.
Did that?
It was successful, which I was quite happy about, because it was using a game system that I was very familiar with, but it was all about what's the genre? It's basically like mech games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was a game that was based around big mechs, and I thought it looked really interesting. Still haven't downloaded my copy of it.
Just kind of holding off, or
couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've actually done a little bit of digging for you.
Sure.
Because I thought this was the case. I wanted to check my sources before I said it.
Absolutely.
There was a game that we haven't mentioned that would happen before Mighty Number 9.
Right.
That went on to become one of the most successful, not the most successful Kickstarters of all time, but one of the most successful games of all time.
Really?
Yep. Their original pledge was for $5,000, and it made $51,000.
Wow.
That game was our game of the decade, Undertale.
Oh my gosh.
Which would make complete sense.
Yes. Now see, that's how you do it.
Yep. They did very well with that.
Yep. You set your limit kind of at a more realistic, and then get way more than you ever expected, and you release good quality.
Too right. I mean, the Kickstarter page itself, I'm looking at it now, and well, it's really well done, to be honest. There's a really good brief overview of the story. There's nice about stuff, talking about obviously who Toby Fox is.
Yes.
What his inspirations are. I didn't know this. Obviously the Mother series is a huge inspiration, especially Mother 3.
Absolutely.
It says other have compared it to Cave Story, Shin Megami Tensei, Touhou, and Homestuck. Or Homestuck, sorry.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Those dog gifs are brilliant as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I knew that was the case, but I just wanted to check that. I mean, that was funded back in 2014, I believe.
Wow, has it been that long?
I know.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, another game I was going to mention that I did not back, but when it did come out, I followed it, but I didn't back it. That would be, believe it or not, Obsidian.
Of course.
They put out Pillars of Eternity, which I think now they're on Pillars of Eternity too. And the only reason I didn't back it is because as much as I love Obsidian, I'm not a complete Obsidian fangirl. I didn't actually like the game. And people kept promising, oh, it's going to have the humor and everything. But they were able to then do Pillars of Eternity 2. So it did quite well. In fact, it says basically 74,000 backers pledged $3,900,000. So basically $4 million.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. And which kind of makes me think about Outer Worlds. Look, I found a way to bring it into the conversation.
Of course you did. And Obsidian and Bethesda.
I did it. But Outer Worlds, it got sold. To what are they called? Take-Two? Take-Two owns it.
Private Division, yeah.
Yeah.
Private Division are sort of a subsidiary of Take-Two.
Right. And of course, I think Obsidian now belongs to Microsoft.
They do. They were bought out like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like right in the middle of this. And it does make me think, like, if Obsidian had crowdsourced Outer Worlds, would we have had a successful game and perhaps a sequel in the works? Not that the game wasn't successful. It was. It was very successful. But, if they do come out with a sequel, it won't be the original team, which is what made it so great.
Of course. I don't necessarily think so. I think the Microsoft acquisition definitely put the hampers into that. But I'm going to throw a theory towards you on this one. Had it not been for the 3.9 million of Pillars of Eternity, is it possible that they wouldn't have even had a budget to make the Outer Worlds?
That is actually a very good point. That is actually a good point. Now that's another pro for crowdsourcing, because you're absolutely right. That brought attention back to Obsidian, who had, let's not lie, they had fallen into obscurity after the mess that was Fallout New Vegas, which is my favorite game, but it was a mess when it first came out.
It was a mess because it was a buggy mess.
It was a buggy mess.
It was also Bethesda that kind of absolutely screwed them over.
Definitely. A lot better marketing could have gone into it. A lot better production time. The usual Bethesda complaints.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that half a point on the Metacritic that meant that none of them got a bonus.
Yeah. Oh,
which I thought was absolutely scummy.
Over again, exactly.
So
after that, they basically fallen into obscurity. And then when they did Pillars of Eternity, that brought them back into the forefront, and then they were able to come out with Outer Worlds, which I think your theory absolutely holds water. So yes, crowdsourcing can be used to either bring back older game creators, or in the case of the Mighty Nine, destroy them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I know Concept have been bought by WayForward,
right? Yeah.
So that's clearly not affected them that badly, that Kickstarter, because they've got backing from a big company now, or bigger company.
Although,
but it kind of helps them, really.
I was gonna say, it probably, if the Kickstarter had been successful, as in they produced a successful game, I don't think they would have got bought over by another company.
No, I reckon it was probably they were scouting around to get an investment from somewhere, because the game had spectacularly failed, and the amount of marketing that they put into doing the Red Ash Kickstarter that eventually didn't get funded.
Yeah.
The debacle with the physical editions of Mighty Number 9 probably didn't help that either.
Yeah.
That probably cost them a fair amount of money of that Kickstarter money.
Yeah.
So,
and,
I mean, it's a double-edged sword situation, really. It can either work completely in your favor,
yes,
like it has done with Undertale, Wonderful 101, and a few other properties like Pillars of Eternity.
Yeah.
But can also be your undoing.
Absolutely.
It could basically leave you out to pasture because they just do not want to touch your property with a barge pole.
Yeah.
Because you're literally in it just to make money.
Yeah, which actually made me think about another couple of games that we'll mention. Now, these were released on Steam, but some of them were crowdfunded, which was, of course, Rust.
Rust is one of the biggest ones, and I hear loads of people talking about that.
Yeah. And then the one with the dinosaurs that I've just blanked
the dinosaurs.
on. Yeah, I'm so bad. Survivor game with dinosaurs, but not Ark.
Okay.
Let me do a little looky here. It's terrible. It is awful. Dinosaur Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's terrible. And
of course.
It was crowdfunded and then the developers disappeared. So there's like a US server and a European server and I want to say another server, and they just left them. And
yeah, I've heard that a lot as well about people just. There's an interesting YouTuber by the name of Slope. He does a lot of stuff on YouTube with Kickstarter fails. And it's not just for games, it's to do with like other inventions and stuff like that, and Indiegogo like stuff where people have just put projects up and got a certain amount and just cut and run.
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
That's like also The Forest. Which The Forest is a weird one in the way that Subnautica is kind of weird. They started as one thing. Actually, they both started as kind of the same thing. Survival games. And then through backers and stuff like that, it evolved into something completely different. And I don't know how. God, it's weird because you don't usually see the dev process. And then know, take Subnautica as a perfect example, but The Forest as well is basically the same exact story, which is they release what's called a beta, and if you don't know, that's just a kind of unofficial release of a game. Yeah. We all know them quite well.
We know enough about them.
Yeah. Sometimes it's very lucky to be invited into a beta, but it depends on the game. So the beta for Subnautica and for The Forest was extremely long. And that's where they develop things, they build out stories, they add assets and all that kind of stuff. And then they may release, the true copy. And that form of the game would be one thing. And like with Subnautica, it was strictly a craft and build game.
So quite like Minecraft then?
Yeah, it was Minecraft underwater is really what it was.
Okay.
100,000%. That is exactly what it was. And then you got Let's Players, like we'll say Jacksepticeye. He was probably the biggest influence, but also what's his face, Loudmouth.
PewDiePie?
No, not PewDiePie. The other one, Markiplier.
Okay.
They both were very influential in the changing of the game. The game then added stories, like a storyline based on them. Not based on them, but just based on their, their interactions and their playing, their Let's Plays. Of
course, yeah.
And in fact, they both have Easter eggs in the game.
But
that kind of, I don't know how I feel about it, because Subnautica, the end product, is a very enjoyable game. I like it. I don't know that I would have liked what it was initially. But
okay.
It's so far from the original idea.
Yep.
That you have to wonder, like if you were to back that, what would you be backing? Would you be backing their original idea or what it became? You know what I'm saying? It's very...
Yeah, I do see what you mean. It's a very dicey game.
Yeah.
Like, because you could back the game in its early alpha, basically, when you like the look of the game, and then it could, like, by the time the beta comes out, it's completely different.
Absolutely.
And then the final retail release or whatever could be completely different from there. So if you might be stuck with your backing with a game that you just have no interest in playing, or a film that you might want to watch, or a book you don't want to read because the plot or the visuals or the general concept has completely changed over the years.
Yeah. And
so it's a very weird one. I can get sort of where people might sort of be a bit annoyed by that.
Yeah, it's got, so when it comes to crowdsourcing, it's got good points, but it's got not so good points. And
yeah,
I think you have to, when you yourself are investing, you have to kind of weigh out, like, do you hold on to your money and buy from a big publisher something that you know exactly what it's going to be? Like, let's be honest, we knew what Red Dead 2 was going to be when it dropped.
I mean, Call of Duty, we know what exactly you're going to get most of the time on you.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely perfect example. You throw your money at a Call of Duty game, you know what you're getting. But you go on, any of the crowdfunding games. What is it? The neighbor one? I don't remember if that was crowdsourced.
Oh, Hello Neighbor.
Hello Neighbor, yeah. I don't remember if that was crowdsourced, but
one of the ones that was crowdsourced that I'm 100% certain about that ended up getting ruined was We Happy Few.
Yes, that's perfect example of what I'm trying to say. We Happy Few, their demo that they released to get backers was intriguing, and
it looked great.
It looked great. It was just very different, or felt very different from what was out there.
Yeah.
And then
a big publisher came in and bought them.
Yep.
And ruined the game.
Everything. Yeah.
Put microtransactions in the game.
Microtransactions. The story turned into something that is so not even believable.
And it was also a glitchy, buggy mess.
Yeah.
Despite having a huge backing on Kickstarter and the backing of a big publisher.
Yeah. Because suddenly the devs were under this huge pressure that they weren't used to, because they're new devs. That's the exact perfect example of what I'm trying to get across. Is always be mindful that it might look good when you first look at it, but it may not end up that way. So I think that having a kind of balance of self-publishing and crowdsourcing with the big publishers is good, as long as one doesn't have monopoly over the entire thing. And that goes for either side.
Absolutely. Okay. I'll put a hypothetical question to you and the audience on this one before we move on to our listener questions.
Sure.
So I may want an answer from you, but I do want the answer from our audience. So if you get in touch with us, we'll give you all the contact details at the end.
Yes.
If THQ Nordic were to put up a Kickstarter for Time Splitters 4, would you back it immediately?
Oh, wow. That's a good question, guys. Y'all have got to answer that one, because I want to know.
I would immediately. I'd probably go at the highest tier I could.
Do you really think so?
I absolutely love Time Splitters.
Oh, Time Splitters is great.
That's what I said. Time Splitters 4. If they were to kickstart that, would you be in?
Nordic THQ, they're not doing so great lately. What they've put out.
They put out some all right games.
Yeah. Mostly
the reason why they're not doing so well is because they kept buying properties.
Yes. I think you're heading into the territory I wanted to discuss, which is Saints Row 4. They bought that from Volition, and
they did.
Totally changed it from top to bottom, and then also released a couple of DLCs and stuff that were terrible.
Oh yeah, because they had Get Out of the Hell. Get Out of,
which is terrible. No, it's terrible.
I heard good things about it.
The only good things is the humor, because it's so absurd and outlandish. But no,
that's just normal Saints Row, though.
Well, yeah. Except there's fun things about Saints Row, but not Get Out of Hell. But yes, I would be a little bit more hesitant. I would want to read a little bit more and see how they do.
Of course, yeah. I mean, there was a hypothetical, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would love for them to do that.
I don't want to support THQ Nordic with a Kickstarter.
Right.
But that sort of just shows how desperate I would be for a Time Splitters 4.
Absolutely. Oh,
look, we had all that concept art that came out a few years ago, and I was jazzed about it. I was so happy to see it, and then poof, it was gone.
Yes, yeah.
So disappointed. But anyway, we will move on to our list of questions. So we will give you all the contact details in a bit to be able to get in touch with us about the hypothetical Time Splitters 4.
Absolutely, because it would be good.
Okay.
But
it would be.
Man, this week our listener questions through the roof. It was amazing.
So there were so many that we're going to have to default some of them to next week.
I love it. It's awesome, and they're so good. Yeah. They're just really
they are brilliant questions. So
love it.
I think we'll start with this one from Andre at Coolslaw. So unusual Twitter handle there, but very cool. He is actually one of our writers and one of the.
I'm such a dummy. I didn't know that's a coleslaw.
Yeah. So Andre is one of our writers and also the co-host of the Gaming FYX podcast.
Woohoo!
One of 6.
Yes.
So this is to do with Media Molecule's Dreams, which came out this week. So Media Molecule's Dreams released last week on PS4. What celebrity creator would you want to see make a project in Dreams? E.g. Jack Black, Hideo Kojima, Peter Jackson, etc. That's a great question, because Dreams, I got a brief moment to play that at EGX Res last year.
Yes.
It's very interesting, and I like the look of the game. It's just I'm not the overly creative type, so... It's not the game for me, but some of the stuff that I've seen being made on that game looks ridiculous.
I love the just the full. It's very artistic. It's very creative. As you said, and
it's insane how many people are making full games out of a game. It's ridiculous.
Every few years, there's always a game that comes along that is like the RPG Maker, this like... Yeah, but this one it's so in-depth, and... I mean, it came out this last week gone, but it actually came out on my birthday on the 14th, which is quite cool. Yes.
But it's been in early access for probably about 2 years, so... A lot of people have had the tool set there for quite a while if they obviously got in early access level.
Yeah.
So they've had a lot of time to play around with this. But some of my favourite things that I've seen in there was Dead Space, the recreation of Dead Space 1.
Right.
That looked insanely good. And the concept of Mario, a 3D Mario game, which looked quite amazing, apart from the fact that we're using 64 assets.
Well,
the sound effects, let's just say.
Yeah.
To answer the question, what do you reckon? Who's your ideal person that you want someone to make a project in Dreams?
See, I would almost go like outside of the usual, video game creators.
I think I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. I would like to see... I mean, God, I'm so kind of burned out right now on mainstream media. I'm such a hipster. So there's a lot of kind of indie artists. I would like to see their take on it, or even indie, musicians.
Yep.
To make videos to go along. Oh yeah, to make music videos.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of. No, I know who would be perfect. The band called Alt J. I don't know if you've heard of them. The guy that heads it, I think he's on the spectrum, but he thinks in very much similar the way I do. He thinks in shapes. He thinks in colors. His videos, they take you on a wild adventure, and his music is just, it's techno, kind of more techno than anything. Sure. Alt J for me. I would love to see Alt J.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I have two. Mm-hmm. And that might be a bit greedy. But hear me out. Mainly because they're a bit two different themes.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
So one of them's a music theme.
Sure.
And one of them is a movie theme.
Ooh.
So my music theme, because this particular band they have branched out into other forms of media as well. Mm-hmm. The lead singer has created comic books.
Right.
I'd love to see what Coed and Cambria would do with this.
Oh, yes.
With their music and visual style.
Yes.
That would be quite awesome if they had their music playing over the top of like one of their really intricate story concept albums.
Absolutely.
That would be quite cool to see.
Yeah.
I could have also said Dream Theater in that one.
I thought you were going to.
Memory. But I mean, Scenes from a Memory would be amazing to see in Dream, because that story is massively complex and really unusual. It skips like different time periods and all that.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
That would be amazing. But I decided to go with Coed and Cambria mainly because of the other influences in other mediums.
Yeah.
I think that Claudio would actually probably do most of the artwork himself.
Yeah.
So that would be quite cool to see. However, my film-based one.
Yes.
I don't think this is going to surprise too many people. Imagine Tarantino making something in Dreams.
I knew it. I know you too well. I'm sitting there biting my tongue and going, he's going to say Tarantino. He's going to say Tarantino.
Yes, because he's got a really unique style, and also because he makes different kinds of genre movies.
Yeah.
Remade Kill Bill or something like that in Dreams.
We were talking about Tarantino earlier in the week. For anyone who doesn't know. But yeah, now I could. It's very interesting. I would be curious enough. I would like to see something by Tarantino and see what he would do with it. Absolutely, yeah.
Imagine, mismatched. Well, if he took, his movie universe itself, that hypothetical universe that he always talks about. Yeah. Imagine if he put all of that into Dreams. Wow.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that would be cool. So you'd see certain characters watching like Django Unchained.
Yeah.
In Dreams.
Yeah.
Whilst they're like doing their own thing.
Yeah.
That would just be weird as hell and so meta, but I would love to see that.
That's what they should have called it, just meta, because that's all that's going to be. It's just going to be bunches of self-referential artists being in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see some and stuff. I mean, what we've already got is insanely cool.
Yeah.
But there'll be more stuff that comes out nowadays on wider release.
Definitely.
So, do you want to take this question from @Micromanic?
I sure will. So Micromanic asks, what's the likelihood of Nintendo announcing a Switch successor after the PS5 and Xbox SX announcements have been made? So what do you think? Because I already know what I think.
Short answer, no.
Yeah, okay.
My reasoning is I have been a Nintendo fan for a very, very to the point where I've seen them play the graphics war with with Sega and Sony and all that, and the Super Nintendo wasn't as powerful as the Mega Drive, but the games library itself pretty much defeated that. They ruined their relationship with Square and now Square-Enix, because of the fact that they refused to move over to a different medium for the N64. And a little known fact, the GameCube is actually more powerful than most of that generation's consoles.
Yes.
Everyone thinks it's the Xbox, but it is not. But it was their stupidity of using their own format that ruined that for them, because they couldn't store so much data on this.
Yes.
Ever since then, they've basically essentially gone, we're just going to do our own thing. They kind of have in the handheld market. They have done in the home console market now since the Wii. They've just done their own thing, and they've left the other players just to do that, just to battle it out and continue this faux console war with graphics and teraflops that we're going to be talking about over the next coming 6 to 8 months. So, like I said, short answer, no. I don't think a Switch successor, a Switch Pro, or a more beefed up Switch with a Tegra X2 or whatever is gonna happen. Mainly because I don't think they want to cannibalize their own sales.
I am actually in agreement with you. Probably not a big surprise though. No, because it's also no for me, which is basically for the same reasons, which they don't have to compete. They're not, and they know they're not competition for the PS5 or the Xbox SX. Which is so difficult to say. I wish they'd change that. But they have been, since the Switch was released, their biggest plus has been the games library. They're back.
Absolutely.
Having an incredibly strong and varied and large library. And that's where their strength lies. And whoever's in charge of their diplomacy at the moment is doing great, because they're repairing all their old relationships, which is really good to see. And I don't think they feel the pressure or the need to release a stronger, performing machine.
Of course. The precedent set with this was the Wii. Look at how they weren't really courting as many of the big third parties. They had downgraded ports from certain games, they had a couple of FIFA games and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's
but
very true.
There was never once where they turned around and said, right, we need to have a slightly beefed up version of the Wii to compete with the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
If anything, it was those two consoles that then decided to piggyback off the Wii's success with motion control.
That's that's exactly it. And I would say that motion controls in both the PS and the Xbox are not great.
No, they were terrible.
Never cared for either.
I mean, the PlayStation Move has had a resurgence with the fact that those Move controllers do use are used with PSVR.
Yeah, I think that if that hadn't been the case, I think that Move would have gone the way of whatever Xbox's was called that I've now forgotten. Kinect. That was it. Stupid words with their misspellings.
Yeah, they definitely took the page out of Mortal Kombat's book there, didn't they?
I guess it was supposed to be like kinetic, kinetic energy,
I guess you're right.
Maybe, and then oh god, stop!
It's terrible though.
Yes, but yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement.
Yeah. I think the thing is that most people think that just raw power alone is what sells consoles. It doesn't.
No,
it's.
No,
if you have a good infrastructure, a decent UI, and a great selection of games, I think that's mostly where you're going to get your sales from.
I mean, and but if you were to look from the outside, you'd probably call me an Xbox fangirl, but I'm not really. But the Xbox Xbone, the latest one, it never. There's very, very few games on it that realize the full extent of its hardware.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I don't I can't understand why. I mean, I know maybe it was a development thing. Like Fallout 4 was in development before the Xbox One, was announced, and then in the middle of development they dropped it. So then they had to, go back, rewrite things. But we all know they did not upgrade the engine whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because. So I was going to say something about it eventually, but I thought I'd let you just rant for a bit.
Yeah. That's kind of been my whole strike against the Xbone, is that they didn't have the games library, and the properties that they did have, or do have rather, they have never really utilized the full extent of the power that's there. Whereas, with the Switch, not maybe not as powerful, but you can play basically whatever you want, because you can play Witcher, you can play a Mario game, you can play an old Mario game.
Yeah. And that's not taking into account that certain games on the system itself, on the Switch, look fantastically good.
Yeah,
because I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the most beautiful looking games of this entire generation. It's on the Switch.
Yeah.
Yes. It's what they're able to do with that limited hardware means that I think publishers, developers have to get more creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think having just raw power alone is kind of stifling creativity in a sort of respect.
Absolutely.
But we'll see, obviously, because you say that games haven't really utilized the power of the Xbox. They have really. But it's only when the Xbox One X came out that they were starting to actually harness that sort of raw power.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. So
it's not always about power. It's about the experience you get.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you can still play old ROMs and enjoy them.
Yep. It's like I've mentioned on numerous occasions. I can go back in Mario World anytime because it is a perfect game.
Absolutely.
Near perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this next question.
I do too. So this comes to us courtesy of Thomas at LlamaFluff42 on Twitter. Has Cadbury peaked? Are they just tinkering now without any big new ideas? I accept this question is controversial and may require a whole episode of its own. We're not going to have a whole episode, but we will have a good discussion about it.
Yes, because I'm an American, and being born and raised in America, we have one official Cadbury product that comes out once a year.
Yep.
Around Easter. And it was the Cadbury cream eggs. Now, these were made in America, and they were terrible, and I hated them.
That would be why they suck then.
They were awful, and I didn't understand. I don't know. I just didn't like them. It was waxy. It was just overly sweet, and So my idea of Cadbury was not good. And then in 2009, I made my first trip to the UK. And I had my first Cadbury bar of chocolate.
Oh, good.
And my world changed.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Chocolate over here, it's especially Cadbury. It's so good. And then I can't say enough about it. It's so good. If you're an American and you can get your hand on some actual Cadbury. Now, when I went back home, I did find an import store. I had to pay kind of higher prices, but it's worth it, guys. I'm not kidding you. Cadbury chocolate is freaking amazing, and I love chocolate.
It used to be.
Well, see, now here's where the discussion is going to get good as I flip it over to your resident Englishman, because Cadbury changed owners a few years ago. I think it's an American company that owns it.
Yep. Kraft.
Kraft. Okay. Oh god, and they're just terrible. And then I think they moved the factory even to another place.
I believe so, but I can't 100% confirm that.
And I just remember people being very, very upset about that. But as an American who never had the wonderful beautifulness that is Cadbury growing up, I still love it. It's amazing.
Okay, but that's because you're only an adopter. Like,
yes. So,
you merely adopted the Cadbury. I was born in it, raised by it.
I was born in it.
I'm glad you got the reference, because that was what I was going for.
Oh, very good.
I love Cadbury. I used to love Cadbury, let's just say. I do still eat regularly their chocolate, but their quality has dipped since the Kraft takeover. It took a couple of years for that to happen, but it has now taken effect. But the one thing I will say that has changed about Cadbury for the better is the use of other different confectionery companies to include in their chocolate bars. So
I saw
Dime bars, Oreos, all that.
I saw Oreos in one.
That's so good. It's so good.
I can't eat Oreos.
I do love it.
I want to.
What is wrong with you?
I can't eat wheat. And it sucks.
Oh, okay. Fine. I'll let you off. You're allowed to then. Yeah.
But believe me, I see those Cadbury eggs with Oreos, and I'm like, if I just clear my schedule tonight, I can have one. But I haven't tried it yet.
Look, it's worth that pain, on it.
Oh yeah, sometimes it is. I mean, especially if it's chocolate. But
yeah,
see,
that is my biggest weakness when it comes to any food is chocolate. Like I could sniff, I literally could sniff some chocolate and put 5 pounds on.
Oh yes. I am crazy about chocolate. I wasn't I didn't really care. Like back in the US, I ate Snickers and Reese's being my favorite. And that was it. That was like the extent of. I just didn't care. It just wasn't that good. But then I came here. Enough. Now here's a crazy thing for any US listeners out there.
Sure.
They have. So you've got your Cadbury bars, which would be like our Hershey bars or our Nestle bars, just your pure milk chocolate.
Yep.
But then you guys do something weird to them, put them through machines or something, and turn them into things like twirls, and twists, and
twirls are great.
It's so weird to me because it's the same chocolate. It's just been formed in a different shape and put air into it, and it tastes flakes
amazing.
Are my favorite. Oh my
flakes
gosh.
Are good.
Flakes are my absolute favorite.
The first experience I ever had with flake was getting one with an ice cream.
Yes.
An ice cream.
That's what they sell them here.
99 flake.
Yep. That you know what? That's probably my first experience with the flake was getting an ice cream here. And,
that's so good. I do love flake.
But
they're just so messy though.
They are very messy. But see, that's what's so funny is it's just Cadbury chocolate just done a different way. And that has just blown my mind since I got here. Yeah. But if you're an American and you're out there and you get to an import store, try Cadbury's. And not the Cadbury eggs that are coming out or probably out now. Those are terrible.
They are very gross. That filling is absolutely disgusting, and I'm sorry if I've offended it, but I just can't stand them.
The American version's even worse because it's made with what do y'all call that here? Oh, you call it golden syrup. It's made with golden syrup instead of sugar. Yeah, and so it's like sweet times a million, but not in a good way. Yeah, it's too much, too sweet.
Yeah. So. I'm going to ask a weird question here.
Sure.
During Halloween, did you ever get egged as a kid?
I didn't get egged as a kid, no. But
did you do the egging?
I didn't officially do it, but I was around people that were doing it.
Okay. Imagine if someone started egging houses with Cadbury's cream eggs. That would suck, wouldn't it?
Oh my gosh, I think that would be harder to clean than regular eggs.
It would be worse as well because you'd have to literally have them in your house, but like from April to October, just to get to that point.
Exactly. Exactly. And then imagine like all the neighborhood dogs like running over to it, trying to like lick your house. Like, no, it's chocolate. It's bad for you. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's not good. So, shall we come back onto the actual question? So,
yes.
they peaked?
Well, as an American, for me, they haven't, but only because this is still a brave new world for me. Whereas,
yeah, that's fair. For me,
the Englishman, yes,
they've been a staple of British culture for many, many years. I've seen the decline. Yes, they've done some good stuff with the old dime bars, included in them. Little bits of dime bars is enough. That's just brilliant. I love dime bars as well, so that was perfect.
Yeah.
The Oreo one is also very good, but
it is.
Other than that, I can't see them. I can't see where the next big idea is going to come from. I just worry that they're sort of just resting on their laurels.
Well, let me ask you this before we close out for the day.
Sure.
Now, I've stated before to you off air and here that, Reese's are my favorite. Reese's are chocolate filled with peanut butter.
Which is gross.
Horrifies a lot of people on this side of the pond, which is hilarious to me. A lot of people over here don't like peanut butter. Or they
there's lots of people who love peanut butter over here.
But it's almost seen as more of a savory as opposed to a sweet, whereas in America it's sweet.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, we do add tons of sugar to it. But, so, peanut butter and chocolate, wonderful combination for me. Do you think Cadbury will ever approach peanut butter with its chocolate?
I really hope they don't. But, I mean, if they did, fine. They might have already done that. I don't really know. It's not the thing that I'm really looking at in the for, to be honest.
I have seen, since I've been over here, I don't know any of the candy trends that are happening back on the shores of the U.S., although I did see a peanut butter filled Twinkie at a stand at the Dublin Comic Con.
That is still gross.
Imported from America. I didn't have any desire to even try that. But I did see Twix over here that's made with peanut butter. So I am wondering if peanut butter is going to start making its presence more known in the. It
is highly possible because we have started selling Reese's over here.
I saw. There's only one store here that I can find it at, but
they sell them in like Morrison's and Tesco's.
We don't have Morrison's, but we do have Tesco's. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they sell them in Tesco's now, especially the big cups.
They do. They sell the ones around Christmas and around Easter as well, which is what I grew up on. So I'm like, yes.
Well, I know what to send you for your birthday.
Oh my gosh!
A stack load of Reese's.
Yes, and then I would just die the next day. Yeah, go to diabetic coma.
Yeah, it seems likely, but I know it's not anything to do with Cadbury. But you mentioned Twix, and but like there is literally only one way to go when it comes to Twix, and that's white Twix.
I can't eat Twix anymore, but I love white chocolate. Is it white chocolate covering them?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. It's delicious. Oh my gosh,
I bet it is. Oh.
Oh, they're so good.
Yes.
They're so good. Anyway.
Welcome to our chocolate podcast.
That could get very dodgy very quickly. Talking about white and dark chocolate. And the segregation.
I love all chocolate.
Yeah, I am a big fan of all chocolate.
All shades of chocolate. I love it all.
There's no segregation when it comes to my chocolate.
No, not at all. Except I will segregate chocolate from fruit, which is something Cadbury does do. They do some bar that has like fruit in it.
Look, get out. No. Get out.
No
Dairy
chocolate
milk
covered.
No. Is good. No, dairy milk fruit and nut is good. It's good.
No.
It's good.
I don't like that or chocolate covered raisins.
Nah, they're nice.
No. Chocolate covered peanuts. I like that.
They're also nice.
Yes.
That's that sweet and saltiness.
Yeah, that's like peanut butter if you chew it up a whole bunch and really fast.
Ugh. Ugh.
All right.
Okay, and on that sticky note,
I think we can end this episode, this late night episode.
Yes.
We are very glad you have joined us again. We love that you join us every week. And thank you guys so much for your feedback. It keeps us going. And always feel free to comment on anything, rate, subscribe, all that good social media stuff. Because we don't advertise, like seriously advertise, pay money and stuff. So just word of mouth is great, and it does a wonder for us.
It helps a massive amount when you do share and comment, all that good stuff.
Yes. Of course. Yeah, if you want to go check out the reviews for this week, head over to www.rapidreviewsuk.com or our Twitter, which is @RapidReviewsUK, which is Rapid Reviews Twitter, or the podcast Twitter, which is @RRRadiopod. And where might they find you?
Well, I'm only on Twitter because I don't use those other platforms, those boomer platforms. But you can find me on there @PeteBeckett1. Now, where can they find you?
I am also on the Twitters @Kiley to Greet, which is KILEYTEHGREET, and I'm just twittering whatever crap vomits from my mind.
Yeah, I find your Twitter thread very interesting because you're, talking about the autism stuff and
I like it when
all that sort of thing, and your convention stuff has been very interesting to read as well.
Convention stuff's on there, and then a lot of the autistic community, we have discussions, and it's always just good for the general public to see that. But Rapid Reviews UK has a Facebook, so you can check them out over there.
Yeah.
I forgot one more.
You have.
I have. So you can also find us at our email address. You can send us questions or comments or answer the question Pete asked earlier, and because we would absolutely love to hear that.
Absolutely.
We can talk about it in next ep. But that is found at podcast@rapidreviewsuk.com.
Indeed.
And that leaves...
Send anything to us there.
Yeah, definitely. That leaves one more thing to wrap up.
Sure. So... just to preface this, I am going to send you an image, but I need to find the image.
Oh, great. Okay.
So let me just find the image.
I'll do a little dance.
Quickly.
Look, I'm doing a dance to distract everyone. This is an audio medium, Kylie. They can't see you. So...
okay, let me just copy this image for you. Sorry, this is really bad, radio. I'm sorry. I absolutely apologize for this, but this kind of needs to be seen.
Oh goodness!
So I'll tell you the fact, and then I'll send this out to you.
Oh, this will be interesting.
This is to do with Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Right. Okay.
Did you know that the Princess Daisy trophy had a mysterious third eye on the back of its head? What?
No.
And there you go. Have a look.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
It is creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, you guys need to go have a look at that. Princess Daisy's third eye.
Once the episode goes live, I'll give it about 24 hours and I'll pop it on there for you.
That is great. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.